Section 12. VAYECHI. And Jacob lived in the land of Mizraim 17 years. And the sum of the days of Jacob of the days of his life was 147 years. And the days of Israel drew near to die. And he called to his son, to Joseph, and said to him, If now I have found favor before thee, put thy hand on the place of my circumcision, and deal with me in goodness and truth, that thou wilt not bury me in Mizraim, that I may sleep with my fathers, and thou mayest carry me from Mizraim, and bury me in the sepulchre. But because he was his son, he did not so put his hand, but said, I will do according to thy word. And he said, Swear to him. And he sware to him. And immediately the glory of the Shekinah of the Lord was revealed to him, and Israel worshipped upon the pillow one of the bed, Jerusalem. And Israel praised upon the head of the couch, XII. And after these things it was told Joseph, Behold, thy father is lying ill. And he took his 2 sons with him, Menucha and Ephraim. And it was announced to Jacob, saying, Behold, thy son Joseph hath come to thee. And Israel strengthened himself, and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai revealed himself to me at Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me. And he said to me, Behold, I will increase thee and multiply thee, and make thee an assemblage of tribes, and will give this land to thy sons after thee for an everlasting inheritance. And now thy 2 sons who have been born to thee in the land of Mizraim before I came to thee into Mizraim are mine, Ephraim and Menucha, as Reuben and Shimeon shall be reckoned unto me. And thy children whom thou mayest beget after them shall be thine, by the name of the brethren shall they be called in their inheritance. And I beseech thee to bury me with my fathers. Rahel died by me suddenly in the land of Canaan, while there was yet much ground to come to Ephrath, nor could I carry her to bury her in the double cave, but I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Israel looked at the sons of Joseph, and said, From whom are these born to thee? And Joseph answered his father, They are my sons, which the word of the Lord gave me according to this writing, according to which I took Asenath the daughter of Dinah thy daughter to be my wife. And he said, Bring them now near to me, and I will bless them. But Israel's eyes were heavy from age, and he could not see. And he brought them to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, To see thy face I had not reckoned, but, behold, the Lord hath also showed me thy sons. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and worshipped on his face upon the ground. And Joseph took both of them, Ephraim on his right side, which was Israel's left, and Menucha on his left side, which was Israel's right, and brought them to him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it upon the head of Ephraim, though he was the younger, and his left hand upon the head of Menucha, altering his hands, for Menucha was the firstborn. Jerusalem. He altered his hands, and he blessed Joseph, and said, The Lord, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did serve, the Lord who hath fed me since I have been unto this day, be pleased that the angel whom thou didst ordain for me, to redeem me from all evil, may bless the children, and let my name be called upon them, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac. And as the fishes of the sea in multiplying are multiplied in the sea, so may the children of Joseph be multiplied abundantly in the midst of the earth. And Joseph saw that his father placed his right hand upon Ephraim's head, and it was evil before him. And he uplifted his father's hand to remove it from off the head of Ephraim, that it might rest on the head of Menucha. And Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn, lay thy right hand on his head. But his father was not willing, and said, I know, my son, I know that he is the firstborn, and also that he will be a great people, and will also be multiplied. Yet will his younger brother be greater than he, and his sons be greater among the nations. And he blessed them in the day, saying, In thee, Joseph my son, shall the house of Israel bless their infants in the day of the circumcision, saying, The Lord set thee as Ephraim and as Menucha. And in the numbering of the tribes the prince of Ephraim shall be numbered before the prince of Menucha. And he appointed that Ephraim should be before Menucha. And Israel said to Joseph, Behold, my end cometh to die. But the word of the Lord shall be your helper, and restore you to the land of your fathers. And behold, I have given to thee the city of Shechem, one portion for a gift above thy brethren, which I took from the hand of the Amorite at the time that you went into the midst of it. And I rose and helped you with my sword and with my bow, Jerusalem. And behold, I have given thee one portion above thy brethren, the robe of the first Adam. Abraham the father of my father took it from the hands of Nimrod the wicked, and gave it to Isaac my father, and Isaac my father gave it to Esau. And I took it from the hands of Esau my brother, not with my sword nor with my bow, but through my righteousness and my good works. XLIX. And Jacob called his sons and said to them, Purify yourselves from uncleanness, and I will show you the hidden mysteries, the ends concealed, the recompense of reward for the righteous, the retribution of the wicked, and the bower of Eden, what it is. And the 12 tribes of Israel gathered themselves together around the golden bed whereon he reclined, and where was revealed to him the Shekinah of the Lord, though the end for which the king Menucha is to come had been concealed from him. Then said he, Come, and I will declare to you what shall befall you at the end of the days. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and receive instruction from Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, the beginning of the strength of my generation, and the chief event of my thoughts. To thee belonged the birthright, and the high priesthood, and the kingdom. But because thou hast sinned, my son, the birthright is given to Joseph, and the kingdom to Jehudah, and the priesthood to Levi. I will liken thee to a little garden, in the midst of which there enter torrents swift and strong, which it cannot bear, but is overwhelmed. Be repentant then, Reuben my son, for thou hast sinned. And add not that wherein thou hast sinned it may be forgiven thee, for it is reckoned to thee as if thou wentest in to have to do with the wife of thy father at the time that thou didst confound my bed upon which thou wentest up. Shimeon and Levi are brothers of the womb too. The thoughts are of sharp weapons for rapine. In their counsel my soul bath not had pleasure, and in the gathering against Shechem to destroy it mine honor was not united, for in their anger they slew the prince and his ruler, and in their ill will they demolished the wall 3 of their adversary. And Jacob said, Accursed was the town of Shechem, when they entered within it to destroy it in the violent wrath and the hatred against Joseph, for it was relentless. If, said Jacob, they dwell together, no king nor ruler may stand before them. Therefore will I divide the inheritance of the sons of Shimeon into 2 portions. One part shall come to them out of the inheritance of the sons of Jehudah, and one part from among the rest of the tribes of Jacob, and the tribe of Levi I will disperse among all the tribes of Israel. Jehudah, thou didst make confession in the matter of Tamar. Therefore shall thy brethren confess for thee, and shall be called Jehudah from thy name. Thy hand shall avenge thee of thy adversaries, in throwing arrows upon them when they turn their backs before thee, and the sons of thy fathers shall come before thee with salutations. I will liken thee, my son Jehudah, to a whelp, the young of a lion, for from the killing of Joseph my son thou didst uplift thy soul, and from the judgment of Tamar thou wast free. He dwelleth quietly and in strength as a lion, and as an old lion when he reposeth, who may stir him up? Kings shall not cease, nor rulers, for the house of Jehudah, nor Sepharim teaching the law from his seed, till the time that the king the Menucha shall come, the youngest of his sons, and on account of him shall the peoples flow together. How beauteous is the king, the Menucha, who will arise from the house of Jehudah. He hath girded his loins, and descended, and arrayed the battle against his adversaries, slaying kings with the rulers, neither is there any king or ruler who shall stand before him. The mountains become red with the blood of their slain, his garments dipped in blood are like the outpressed juice of grapes. How beautiful are the eyes of the king Menucha as the pure wine. He cannot look upon what is unclean, nor on the shedding of the blood of the innocent, and his teeth, purer than milk, cannot eat that which is stolen or torn, and therefore his mountains are red with wine, and his hills white with corn, and with the coats of flocks. Zebulun shall dwell upon the banks of the sea, and have dominion over the havens. He will surmount the breakers of the sea with ships, and his border extend unto Zidon. Issachar is an ass in the law, a strong tribe, knowing the order 5 of the times, and he lieth down between the limits of his brethren. And he saw the rest of the world to come, that it is good, and a portion of the land of Israel, that it is pleasant. Therefore bowed he his shoulders to labor in the law, and unto him shall come his brethren bearing presents. For the house of Dan there is to arise a man who will judge his people with the judgment of truth. All the tribes of Israel will hearken to him together. A chosen man shall arise from the house of Dan, like the basilisk which lieth at the dividing of the way, and the serpent's head which lurketh by the way, that biteth the horse in his heel, and the master from his terror is thrown backward. Even thus will Shimshon bar Manavach slay all the heroes of Philistia, the horsemen and the foot. He will hamstring the horses and hurl the riders backwards. When Jacob saw Gideon bar Joash and Shimshon bar Manavach, who were established to be deliverers, he said, I expect not the salvation of Gideon, nor look I for the salvation of Shimshon, for the salvation will be the salvation of an hour, but for thy salvation have I waited, and will look for O Lord, for thy salvation is the salvation of eternity. The tribe of Gad with the rest of the tribes will, armed, pass over the streams of Arnon, and subdue before them the pillars of the earth. And armed will they return into the limits with much substance, and dwell in peace beyond the passage of Jordan, for so will they choose, and it shall be to them to receive their inheritance. Happy is Asher, whose fruitage is plenteous, and whose land aboundeth in balsams and costly perfumes. Naphtali is a swift messenger, like a hind that runneth on the tops of the mountains, bringing good tidings. He it was who announced that Joseph was living. He it was who hasteneth to go into Mizraim, and bring the contract of the double field, in which he saw he had no portion. 6 And when he shall open his mouth in the congregation of Israel to give praise, he shall be the chosen of all tongues. Joseph, my son, thou hast become great. Joseph, my son, thou hast become great and mighty. The end determined on thee was that thou shouldst be mighty, because thou didst subdue thy inclination in the matter of thy mistress, and in the work of thy brethren. Thee will I liken to a vine planted by fountains of water, which sendeth forth her roots, and overrunneth the ridges of stone, and covereth by her branches all unfruitful trees. Even so didst thou, my son Joseph, subject by thy wisdom and thy good works all the magicians of Mizraim, and when celebrating thy praises, the daughters of princes walking on the high places cast before thee bracelets and chains of gold, that thou shouldst lift up thine eyes upon them. Thine eyes thou wouldst not lift up on one of them, to become guilty in the great day of judgment. And all the magicians of Mizraim were bitter and angry against him, and brought accusations against him before Pharaoh, expecting to bring him down from his honor. They spake against him with the slanderous tongue. 7 Which is severe as arrows. But he returned to abide in his early strength, and would not yield himself unto sin, and subdued his inclinations by the strong discipline he had received from Jacob, and thence became worthy of being a ruler, and of being joined in the engraving of the names upon the stones of Israel. For the word of the Lord shall be thy help, and he who is called the All-Sufficient shall bless thee with the blessings which descend with the dew of heaven from above, and with the good blessing of the fountains of the deep which ascend and clothe the herbage from beneath. The breasts are blessed at which thou wast suckled, and the womb in which thou didst lie. The blessings of thy father be added to the blessings wherewith my fathers Abraham and Isaac have blessed me, and which the princes of the world Ishmael and Esau and all the sons of Keturah have desired. Let all these blessings be united, and form a diadem of majesty for the head of Joseph, and for the brow of the man who became chief and ruler in Mizraim, and the brightness of the glory of his brethren. Benjamin is a strong tribe, like the wolf with his prey. In his land will dwell the Shekinah of the Lord of the world, and the house of the sanctuary be builded in his inheritance. In the morning will the priests offer the lamb continually until the 4th hour. And between the evenings the second lamb, and at eventide will they divide the residue remaining of the offering, and eat every man his portion. Jerusalem Targum. And our father Jacob called his sons, and said to them, Gather together, and I will teach you on the concealed end, the secret mysteries, the recompense of reward for the just, and the punishment of the wicked, and the blessedness of Eden, what it is. And the 12 tribes of Jacob assembled and surrounded the golden bed whereon our father Jacob lay, desiring that he should teach them at the end in benediction and consolation. Then was revealed to him the secret that had been hidden from him, and then was opened the door which had been shut to him. Our father Jacob turned therefore and blessed his sons, every man according to his good did he bless him. When the 12 tribes of Jacob were assembled, and surrounded the golden bed whereon our father Jacob lay, they expected that he would make known to them the order of blessing and consolation. But they were hidden from him. Our father Jacob answered and said to them, From Abraham my father's father arose the profane Ishmael and all the sons of Keturah, and from Isaac my father arose the profane Esau, my brother, and I am afraid lest there should be among you a man whose heart is separated from his brethren to go and worship before strange idols. The 12 tribes of Jacob answered all together, and said, Hear us, Israel our father. The Lord our God is one Lord. And Jacob our father answered, and said, May his great name be blessed for ever and ever. Reuben, my firstborn art thou, my strength, and the beginning of my sorrow. To thee my son Reuben would it have pertained to receive 3 portions above thy brethren, birthright, priesthood, kingdom. But because thou hast sinned, Reuben my son, the birthright is given unto Joseph, the kingdom to Jehudah, and the high priesthood to the tribe of Levi. I will liken thee, my son Reuben, to a little garden into the midst of which there enter rapid torrents, which it cannot bear, but is carried away before them. Be repentant then, my son Reuben, with good works, for thou hast sinned, and sin no more, that that which thou hast sinned may be forgiven thee. 5. Shimeon and Levi are brothers of the womb, men who are masters of sharp weapons. They made war from the youth. In the land of their adversary they wrought out the triumphs of war. In their counsels my soul found no pleasure, and in the gathering together at the city of Shechem to destroy it. They were not favorable to my honor, for in their anger they slew kings with princes, and in the willfulness they sold Joseph the brother, who is compared to the ox. Accursed was the town of Shechem when Shimeon and Levi entered to destroy it in the wrath, for it was strong, and in their anger, for it was cruel. And Jacob our father said, If these remain together, no people or kingdom can stand before them. I will divide the tribe of Shimeon, that they may become preachers and teachers of the law in the congregation of Jacob, and I will disperse the tribe of Levi in the houses of instruction for the sons of Israel. 8. Jehudah. Thee shall all thy brethren praise, and from thy name shall all be called Jehudah. Thy hand shall avenge thee of thy adversaries. All the sons of thy father shall come before thee with salutation. I will liken thee, my son Jehudah, to a whelp the son of a lion. From the slaying of Joseph thou wast free, for the judgment of Tamar thou, my son, wast acquitted. He remaineth tranquil in the midst of war, as the lion and as the lioness, nor is there people or kingdom that can stand against thee. Kings shall not cease from the house of Jehudah, nor Sepharim teaching the law from his children's children, until the time that the king Mashiach shall come, whose is the kingdom, and to whom all the kingdoms of the earth shall be obedient. How beauteous is the king Mashiach, who is to arise from the house of Jehudah, opening square binding his loins, and going forth to war against them that hate him. He will slay kings with princes, and make the rivers red with the blood of their slain, and his hills wide with the fat of the mighty ones. His garments will be dipped in blood, and he himself be like the juice of the winepress. More beautiful are the eyes of the king Mashiach to behold than pure wine. They will not look upon the red which is unclean, or the shedding of the blood of the innocent. His teeth are employed according to the precept rather than in eating the things of violence and rapine. His mountains shall be red with vines, and his presses with his wine, and his hills be white with much corn and with flocks of sheep. 14. Issachar is a strong tribe, and his limits shall be in the midst between two boundaries. And he saw the house of the sanctuary, which is called quietness, 8, that it is good, and the land that its fruits are rich, and bared his shoulders to labor in the law, and to him shall be all his brethren bringing tribute. 17. If Dan, he will be the deliverer who is to arise, strong will he be and elevated above all kingdoms. And B will be like the serpent that lieth in the way, and the basilisk which lurketh at the dividing of the road, which striketh the horse in his heel, and thinketh by the terror of him to throw his rider backward. He is Shimshon bar Manavach, who will be a terror upon his adversaries, and a fear upon them that hate him, and who will slay kings with princes. Our father Jacob said, My soul hath not waited for the redemption of Gideon bar Joash, which is for an hour, nor for the redemption of Shimshon, which is a creature redemption. But for the redemption which thou hast said in thy word shall come for thy people the sons of Israel. For this thy redemption my soul hath waited. 19. For the house of Gad will go forth hosts arrayed in arms. They will bring Israel of Jordan and put them in possession of the land of Canaan, and afterwards return in peace to the tabernacles of happy Asher. How fertile is the land! His land shall satisfy with dainties the kings of the sons of Israel. Naphtali is a swift messenger declaring good tidings. He first declared to our father Jacob that Joseph was yet in life, and he went down to Mizraim in a little time, and brought the contract of the double field from the palace of Joseph. And when he openeth his mouth in the congregation of Jacob, his tongue is sweet as honey. 22. My son, who hast become great, Joseph, my son, who hast become great, and waxed mighty, that thou wouldst become mighty, was foreseen. Thee, Joseph, my son, will I liken to a vine planted by fountains of water, which sendeth her roots into the depth, and striketh the ridges of the rocks, uplifting herself on high, and surmounting all the trees. So hast thou, Joseph, my son, risen by thy wisdom above all magicians of Mizraim, and all the wise men who were there, what time thou didst ride in the second chariot of Pharaoh. And they proclaimed before thee, and said, This is the father of the king. Long live the father of the king, great in wisdom, though few in years. And the daughters of kings and of princes danced before thee at the windows, and beheld thee from the balconies, and scattered before thee bracelets, rings, collars, necklaces, and all ornaments of gold, in hope thou wouldst uplift thine eyes and regard one of them. But thou, my son Joseph, wast far from lifting thine eyes on any one of them, though the daughters of kings and of princes spake one to another, This is the holy man Joseph, who walks not after the sight of his eyes, nor after the imagination of his heart, because the sight of the eyes and the imagination of his heart make the son of woman to perish from the world. Therefore will arise from thee the two tribes Menucha and Ephraim, who shall receive portion and inheritance with the brethren in the dividing of the land. The magicians of Mizraim and all the wise men spake against him, but could not prevail over him. They spake evil of him before his lord. They accused him before Pharaoh king of Mizraim to bring him down from his dignity. They spake against him in the palace of Pharaoh with the slanderous tongue severe as arrows. But the strength of his confidence 9 remained in both his hands and his arms, and he sought mercy from the strength of his father Jacob, under the arms of whose power the tribes of Israel are led and are come. Blessed are the breasts that suckled thee, and the womb in which thou didst lie. The blessing of thy father be added upon thee, upon the blessings wherewith thy fathers Abraham and Isaac, who are like mountains, blessed thee, and upon the blessing of the foremothers Sarah, Rivkah, Rahel, and Leah, who are like hills, let all these blessings come, and make a diadem of majesty upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the man who became a chief and ruler in the land of Mizraim, and the brightness of the glory of his brethren. 17. Of Benjamin I will liken him to a ravening wolf. In his limits will the sanctuary be builded, and in his inheritance the glory of the Shekinah of the Lord will dwell. In the morning will the priests offer the continual lamb in its oblations, And at the going down of the sun will the priests offer the continual lamb and its oblations, and at evening divide the offerings of the sons of Israel. All these tribes of Israel are 12. They are all righteous together, and the cities which the Father spake to them, and blessed them according to his blessing, blessed be each man. And be commanded them, and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people, bury me with my fathers in the cavern which is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the double field over against Mamre in the land of Canaan, for Abraham bought the field of Ephron the Hittite for an inheritance of burial. There they buried Abraham, and Sarah his wife, there they buried Isaac and Rivekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field, and the cave that it is in, of the sons of Hittite. And Jacob ceased to command his sons. And he gathered up his feet into the midst of the bed, and expired, and was gathered into his people. And Joseph laid his father upon a couch of ivory which was framed with pure gold, and inlaid with precious stones, and secured with cords of byssus. There they poured out fervid wines, and there burned they most costly perfumes. There stood the chiefs of the house of Esau, and the chiefs of the house of Ishmael. There stood the lion of Jehudah, the strength of his brethren. He answered and said to his brethren, Come, and let us raise up to our father a tall cedar whose head shall reach to the top of heaven, and its branches overshadow all the inhabitants of the earth, and its roots extend to the depths of the abyss. From it have arisen the 12 tribes, and from it will arise kings, princes, and priests in the divisions, to offer oblations, and from it the Levites in their appointments for singing. Then, behold, Joseph bowed himself upon his father's face, and wept over him, and kissed him. Jerusalem. And Joseph laid him on a couch of ivory which was covered with pure gold, and inset with pearls, and spread with clothes of byssus and purple. There they poured out wine with choice perfumes. There they burned aromatic gums. There stood the chiefs of the house of Esau. There stood the princes of the house of Ishmael. There stood the lion Jehudah, the strength of his brethren. And Jehudah answered and said to his brethren, Come, let us raise up to our father a tall cedar, whose head shall reach to heaven, but whose branches unto the inhabitants of the world. And Jehudah answered and said to his brethren, Come, let us raise up to our father a tall cedar, whose head shall reach to heaven, but whose branches unto the inhabitants of the world. From it have arisen the 12 tribes, from it the priests with the trumpets, and the Levites with the harps. And they wept, and Joseph bowed himself on the face of his father, and wept over him, and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants the physicians to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And the 40 days of embalming were completed to him, for to fulfill they the days of embalming. And the Mizrahi lamented him 70 days, saying one to another, Come, let us lament over Jacob the Holy, whose righteousness turned away the famine from the land of Mizraim. For it had been decreed that there should be 42 years of famine, but through the righteousness of Jacob 40 years are withheld from Mizraim, and there came famine but for 2 years only. 10. And the days of his mourning passed. And Joseph spake with the lords of the house of Pharaoh, saying, If I may find favor in your eyes, speak now in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I die in the sepulchre which I have prepared for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. And now let me go up and bury my father, and I will return. And Pharaoh said, Go up, and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mizraim, went up with him. And all the men of Joseph's house, and his brethren, and his father's household. Only their children, and their sheep and oxen, left they in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him chariots and horsemen, and a very great host. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and there they lamented with a great and mighty lamentation. And he made there a mourning for his father 7 days. And the inhabitants of the land of Canaan beheld the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. And they loosed the girdles of the loins in honor of Jacob, and spread forth the hands, and said, This is a mighty mourning of the Mizrahi. Therefore he called the name of the place Abel Mizraim, which is on the other side of Jordan. And his sons did for him as he had commanded them. But when his sons had brought him into the land of Canaan, and the thing was heard by Esau the wicked, he journeyed from the mountain of Gabala with many legions, and came to Hebron, and would not suffer Joseph to bury his father in the double cave. Then forthwith went Naphtali, and ran, and went down to Mizraim, and came in the day, and brought the instrument that Esau had written for Jacob his brother in the controversy of the double cave. And immediately he beckoned to Achin the son of Dan, who unsheathed the sword, and struck off the head of the wicked Esau. And the head of Esau rolled into the midst of the cave, and rested upon the bosom of Isaac his father, and the sons of Esau buried his body in the double field. And afterward the sons of Jacob buried him in the cave of the double field, in the field which Abraham bought for an inheritance, sepulchre of Ephron the Hittite, over against Mamre. And Joseph returned to Mizraim, he and his brethren, and all who went up with him to bury his father, after they had buried his father. And Joseph's brethren saw that the father was dead, and that Joseph did not return to eat together with them. And they said, Perhaps Joseph will bring upon us all retain of enmity against us, and will bring upon us all the evil that we did him. And they instructed Bilhah to say to Joseph, Thy father commanded before his death to speak to thee. Thus shall you say to Joseph, Forgive now the guilt of thy brethren and the sin, for they committed evil against thee, but forgive, I beseech thee, the guilt of the servants of the God of thy father, Jerusalem. And they instructed the tribe of Bilhah the handmaid of Rahel to say, Thy father before he was gathered commanded, saying. And Joseph wept when they spake with him. And his brethren came also, and bowed themselves before him, and said, Behold, we are thy servants. And Joseph said to them, Fear not, for I will not do you evil, but good, for I fear and humble myself before the Lord. Jerusalem. And Joseph said to them, Fear not, for the evil that you did me hath ended. Are not the thoughts of the sons of men before the Lord? You indeed imagined against me evil thoughts, that when I did not recline with you to eat, it was because I retained enmity against you. But the word of the Lord thought on me for good, for my father hath caused me to sit at the head. And on account of his honor I received, but now not for the sake of my own righteousness or merit was it given me to work out for you deliverance this day for the preservation of much people of the house of Jacob. And now fear not, I will sustain you and your little ones. And he comforted them, and spake consolation to the heart. And Joseph dwelt in Mizraim, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation, also the sons of Machir the son of Menucha, when they were born, were circumcised by Joseph. And Joseph said to his brethren, Behold, I die, the Lord remembering will remember you, and will bring you up from this land, into the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph adjured the sons of Israel to say to the sons, Behold, you will be brought into servitude in Mizraim, but you shall not presume to go up out of Mizraim until the time that two deliverers shall come and say to you, Remember ye the Lord. And at the time when ye go up ye shall carry up my bones from hence. And Joseph died, the son of 110 years. And they embalmed him with perfumes, and laid him in an ark, and submerged him in the midst of the willows of Mizraim, Jerusalem. And they embalmed him, and laid him in an ark in the land of Mizraim. 11. End of the Targum of Palestine. On the Sepherbereishith.